What is up, Mets fans? Welcome back to a frustrating episode of the Mets'd podcast. I don't know, it's going to be about 30 minutes of the honest truth of what's going on right now. I think you're going to hear me and James be a little more critical than you would expect. I think there's going to be some real conversation about David Stearns. There's going to be some real conversation about Carlos Mendoza. And just this team in general. It's a pretty horrible series down in Baltimore. No, it's really just one technically bad day, but to get beat the way that they did in the fashion that it happened and the lack of offense, I think there's a lot of real conversations to be had about this team as we're one series away from hitting the All-Star break. Before we get going into it, you guys know the drill. Make sure you are following us on all our social media at Mets'd on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Subscribe to the Mets'd Podcast YouTube channel. Really do appreciate it. We owe you guys a live stream. We've been crazy busy. I think it's going to come before the All-Star game happens at some point in that in-between. So we will talk to you guys very soon there if you are a member. If you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. And of course, we have to let you guys know we have a great giveaway going on right now in the Chat BCC group chat, thanks to Foul Territory. Think you know ball, prove it. Our trivia game for a shot at winning an authentic MLB jersey of your choice worth up to $400. Here's how you enter. Sign up at foulterritory.chat to play trivia, crush it, you might win. Foul Territory is picking one winner from the top scores at random. Deadline is July 13th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern. So get in there, play, win, and brag. Link will be in the description to all that. Without further ado, though, let's bring on James to tell us how he's feeling, what's going on. That series was tough.
The day was tough. The series was saved by the miracle comeback on Tuesday night. Also, just such an awkward timing of the series because after the Subway Series, the Mets went straight to Baltimore on Sunday, late afternoon, got to Baltimore by Sunday night, had an off day Monday, spent it in Baltimore, played one game Tuesday, rain out Wednesday. So the Mets were in Baltimore for almost 4 total days and played one baseball game, which is a weird travel quirk that happened this week. But I just think that we're now really starting to see the chinks of this roster. We're starting to see the holes that have not technically been addressed. A lot of them are injury related. Now some of them, the injury related, are getting worse because Jesse Winker came back when he got hurt again, which is just crazy how that happens. But it just feels kind of clear right now that we're a few players short. And we are supposed to get Kodai Sang and Shamanai back. Those are the missing pieces technically. But I don't know, we just went through a few weeks where we saw a lot of Justin Hageman and Brandon Waddell and Richard Lovelady. My guy Rick Garcia actually calmed down real nice at the end of that game.
Also, Warren doesn't look bad either.
This is what I'm saying. I think there could be some massaging that can happen there, but also with the lack of talent on the roster at times and the lack of depth, we see Carlos Mendoza, I think, consistently second guessing himself more often than not. We're in the spot right now where it's weird. It's a strange mix of bodies, players, talents right now, and I think it's a difficult thing to navigate.
I think there are some players on this team that are uncompetitive Major League Baseball players at the moment. Hayden Sanger being one of them. We know the reasoning why Francisco Alvarez is truly down this long. It is a roster manipulation thing. Shout out Will Salmon. If the Mets keep down Alvarez till after the All-Star break, shout out Billy Epler, they get to keep him for an extra year because he loses some service time that he's been accumulating. So that would be big for the Mets. We know that's roster manipulation, but also Hayden Sanger's tough to be playing every single day because he's not a capable Major League catcher on a team that's trying to compete right now. Defensively, he's completely fine, if not solid. But at the plate, there's little to no upside right now. Luis Angel Acuna just got called up. Again, that's a little bit of roster manipulation gameplay by David Stearns. And that cunning is still there. But there is just guys right now that are not major leaguers like we saw on the offensive side. On the bullpen side, you mentioned a couple names as well, where it's every single day we're having to play guys that truly are not Major League Baseball players. And this is a team that has aspirations of winning the World Series, winning the National League East. This is a team that should have those aspirations. And when you're playing guys like this consistently, it does put a lot of pressure on everybody else, and they're not answering the call by any means.
But this is what I'm talking about the seeming disconnect. And we always talked about how great the connection was and the synergy was between ownership, front office, and manager with Mendoza, Cohen, and Stearns. But a guy like Luis Angel Acuna gets called back up before the doubleheader on Thursday. Okay, we know that he has to get called up right now to preserve his option. I think it is worth preserving Luis Angel Acuna's option. I don't think that Travis Jankowski's spot on this roster is the most important thing. But then in that ilk, I don't think there's really a need to play Luis Angel Acuna in the second game of the doubleheader. That's where the disconnect is happening. I understand Luis Angel Acuna is here. You want him to get reps. But then, Ronnie Mauricio isn't playing great third base. Wally's playing great third base. Bates been playing a good second base and hitting really well. But one of the most consistent hitters in his team for a 2-month stretch now, Brett
crazy.
Baty. And Mauricio is coming into his own. It does feel like taking better at bats, being a little bit more patient, a bit more of a discerning eye, which isn't hard for him to have a more discerning eye because he has one of the least discerning eyes in the league. But to have to shoehorn Luis Angel Acuna into that lineup in the second game of this doubleheader, when you're in the spot where you're not really hitting anyway, and Hayden Sanger is going to be in the lineup, who's one of the worst hitters in professional baseball right now, that seemed like something that Mendoza was trying to do something that maybe wasn't actually intended by the roster move of David Stearns. And that's the disconnect I'm trying to harp on.
Yeah, I also think, too, in game one of the doubleheader as well, again, going up against Charlie Morton, we saw some interesting decisions, too. Like, I don't really know how much more we can consistently play Tyrone Taylor in center. I know he's great out there defensively, but he's rocking a 575 OPS. He's
the only RBI in that game.
I know, but overall, I think like we have to go with an offensive first lineup right now, especially because the bats are so friggin' ice cold, like insanely ice cold. And Peterson's a ground ball pitcher, right? Like that seems like the perfect time to play Jeff McNeil out in center field with a ground ball pitcher on there. I understand you got to get your guys your reps, but like you said, there does seem to be a little bit of a disconnect of what's going on with the playing time, guys getting their shot, guys playing here and there. We even saw like, I know we're getting very critical of every single decision that's being made, but we saw at one point, like Mark Vientos was in a game late at third base defensively. When you had Brett Baty available to be there, you had guys that can move around the infield and give you a more defensive, solid infield. I don't know what the plan is. This is one of the few times ever in the David Stearns, Carlos Mendoza, Steve Cohen era where I don't really see what the plan is for this team right now. I can't figure it out.
Yeah, a little different kind of episode for us after a series. We usually, we go game by game, play by play, decision by decision, talk about key things. But I do think this warrants a bit of a wider discussion. I do think that there are more things that we've seen now this week because Wednesday night, Nolan McLean has a second straight game at AAA Syracuse where he strikes out 10, went 6 innings, got over 90 pitches. And you're like, okay, Mets did need a starter on Thursday, to be honest with you. And it was like, and this is kind of something that we've alluded to in the past with Mendoza too, where we like the fact that he's brought like the Milwaukee Brewers brain with
Stearns,
him.
you mean?
Stearns, because it helps him be cunning, helps him be sharp on the edges. Like this Mets team, David Stearns as executive consistently seems to win on the margins. Right now, we're not winning on the margins. We're losing on the margins. Us losing on the margins has cost us a lot of games over the past month. So that situation where bring the Milwaukee brain for David Stearns, you don't want to start the 40-man clock on Nolan McLean before you have to, because the Mets 40-man roster right now, you're a year away from getting kind of crunched just because of how many good prospects we've developed and how many guys we think are going to become major leaguers over the next 12 to 18 months. Where at the moment, the 40-man roster does not look crunched. But when you get a year away, it will get a little crunched unless you make a consolidation trade. So it's about kind of keeping your dexterity, not starting that clock on somebody. But the flip side of that is that there has to be some urgency with this roster, right? Like we talked about this a lot more in the offseason. This was the idea we had about being aggressive for pitchers after signing Juan Soto. We have the 15-year contract on Juan Soto. You have a 1-year contract on Pete Alonso. Brandon Nimmo and Francisco Lindor are both over 30 years old. Like this,
they're in their primes right now.
Right now, they're probably not going to have better seasons than the ones they're having. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I mean, maybe again, they'll probably be similar seasons, but like it's hard to. Yeah, it's hard to be like, oh yeah, the next like Brandon Nimmo's best season's ahead of him. You know what I mean?
You don't want to do the thing where you're counting. You keep saying next year, and then all of a sudden you look and you're like, everyone's 33, 34 years old.
Well, that's like 2 years away for those two guys. And also, you have Pete Alonso for 1 year. This rotation isn't exactly young. Like we've seen the injury issues with Minaya and Kodai Senga. Those are two guys in their 30s as well. Like David Peterson is his late 20s. Like that's another guy in his prime. Like there has to be some level of urgency. And we saw how important one game was last season, where the Mets made the playoffs by one game. And one game is the thing that let us have the magical run that we had, actually have a chance to reach the World Series. So to let 3 times in a week, Hageman and Waddell mix and match in these games, when you have a guy like McLean who's crushing in AAA, and that was a big deal. Like, can you get AAA and not face a roadblock? We're there. We're months into AAA. He's not face a roadblock. So it's like I understand like the pecking order. Like Tidwell's gotten those chances first. You don't want to start the 40-man clock and someone you see as a potential blue chip prospect. But when is that inflection point? When is it actually more important to possibly have a better chance to win your game you're playing?
Yeah, it feels just like we're holding on to our cards so tight, and you're playing Uno, and you're waiting for that moment to hit them like with the reverse or the skip. You're waiting for that perfect timing, and I just don't think that's going to happen. And I don't think over a major league season you can kind of thread that needle as much as it feels like the Mets are currently trying to. You mentioned the 40-man, and while there are some guys on here that we we kind of ish like being a part of the glob of chaos. But at the end of the day, like some of the guys who are in the minors right now who have a 40-man roster spot on this team, Ty Adcock, expendable, right? I mean, he's someone who, if Nolan McLean were to take his spot on the 40-man roster, are you losing even a second of sleep over that one? Justin Garza, I know we liked what we saw out of him, but similarly, like kind of. Jonathan Pintaro is a cool story, but another one where it's like kind of. It feels like this roster, while there's been a ton of injuries to the pitching, we know that. AJ Minter's on the 6th IL. Tyler McGill, Sean Manaea is coming back, but Dedniel then goes down, and Brooks Raley's hurt, and the list goes on and on. But the Mets are not the only team in Major League Baseball who also have pitching injuries. They're not the only team that has these issues. And I would like to see Stearns press the button. Let's go for it. Let's push a little bit forward, because you don't want to let it, I don't want to say slip away, and it doesn't feel like that, but this team needs some sort of juice right now, needs a little energy, and maybe the All-Star breaks can be great for them, and they're going to get to relax and hang out with their family and have good times and enjoy their off days, some of them. But at the same time, I can't really feel great. And I'm sure Carlos Mendoza feels like this too, which is why the bullpen handling and management it's been terrible. I mean, I think there's no way to explain it. Mendoza's handled the bullpen and the pitching horribly, but then here's the guys on the active roster for the bullpen right now. It's Brazoban, who's been great. Alex Carrillo, who you could talk about in a little bit. He's still very unproven. Davinsky was not on this team to start the year. He was in the minors. Rico Garcia, Reed Garrett, Hagenman, Lovelady, Stanek, Austin Warren, Waddell, and then you also have Edwin Diaz. It's like, I don't really know how many times you can keep pushing the same button over and over again and expect different outcomes when this is kind of the talent that's in the bullpen right now.
Hey, let's do a little player spotlight thanks to Arena Club. AJ, give me a player this season that you think is underrated and you might want to try and grab his card.
James Wood. I don't know that he's underrated, but Washington Nationals superstar in the making, and the first slab pack I ever opened had him in it. His rookie card, and the value is only going to go up and up and up. And I'm not going to sell it quite yet, Scott. I'm going to hold on to it because after he continues to hit big homers and put up the stats, make all-star teams, it's going to get more expensive for someone to buy for me.
This is his first full season in the majors. Keep that in mind. I think he's underrated. He's on a Nationals team that's meh. Not getting enough attention. He might hit underrated 40 homers.
When he makes the all-star team this year, they're not going to be underrated.
That helps. He's been intentionally walked 4 times in a game. Anyway, if you want to try and find a Wood rookie card, go check out slab packs on Arena Club. And right now you can get 20% off your first slab pack, or if you just want to go with a card purchase, go to arenaclub.com/FOUL. Use code FOUL. If you buy, sell, trade, collect, go for it.
And you do feel that, again, that indecision from Mendoza, where kind of the opposite thing happened in the first 2 games of the series. Again, it feels like a long time because it was Tuesday and then Thursday at noon, but we were a little bit critical in your stream on playback on Tuesday night of the fact that Clay Holmes was pitching. He was pitching well. All of a sudden, 2 guys get on, and the top of the order is up, and there was no one ready to go. And then Mendoza's answer for that was like he was cruising. Like, I wasn't even thinking about that. He was at 75 pitches, and he was cruising. But also, like, last start when he faced the Brewers, like once he got to 80, then he got yanked. So it was like, all right, so now those are 2 things that differently happen. Well, then the same thing happens in the 8th inning in the game on Thursday, where I understand how badly you want to get David Peterson through that 8th inning. He only had 90 pitches. Like, that's something that I think with Peterson starts and a lot of other starters like Peterson who are more contact-oriented, we contact ground ball guys, those pitch counts can be deceiving because it still is difficult to face these lineups that you turn them over. And he was at the bottom of the order, and you do have a lefty matchup against Colton Cowser. It should have made sense to leave him in there, but now Mendoza seemed like jumpy. He had Ryan Stanek ready for 2 innings in case somebody got on, but then you have to have the foresight to understand that once you take the lefty out, like Gunnar Henderson's on that bench, he's the best player on this team by far. He's going to come up unless you bring a lefty in, but if you bring a lefty in, you don't even have a lefty to bring in. So it's like that was something that I'm not saying Mendoza didn't know that. He clearly knew that, but that was clearly his decision was he didn't think Peterson had enough left against Luis Vasquez, who I'll leave that there. But to think that the matchup is better for Peterson for Stanek against Gunnar Henderson than Peterson on fumes against the minor league hitter, it's like that seems to me like a difference. That seems to me like a lack of foresight analysis, maybe.
Also felt crazy to me too that Stanek was the guy, like you said, being up that long. I feel like relievers never do well when they're up that long. I'm shocked they didn't go to Reed Garrett in the 8th inning there. I know that's a little Monday morning quarterback, but like if there's the second best reliever in this bullpen is undoubtedly Reed Garrett. Ryan Stanek, especially when you know that there's going to be left-handed batters coming in, that splitter still is getting no whiffs. That's his lefty neutralizer. It's not working. The sweeper is still kind of finicky for him, and he left a fat pitch to Gunnar Henderson, who absolutely hit a tank. I felt like Reed Garrett was a better matchup, even if you knew that was coming. So that's where I was also confused in that moment.
And you kind of got like a half of a gift with that off day because Garrett, he pitched the 2 innings all the way back in the 4th, and he pitched the 1 inning, 8 pitches on Tuesday. So you're he's throwing 8 pitches in 4 days. Like it's not like he's not available. And maybe it's just something like keep the confidence with Ryan Stanek because Stanek hadn't pitched since Saturday before this game. But like that's another thing where it's like, hey, like you just got to get this out. Like know Gunnar Henderson is coming up the second you take David Peterson out of the game. You have to know that's the move.
Or is that when you get crazy? You're like, Diaz, let's go. Let's see what you got.
But there were no outs. I don't think he was going to do that with no outs with a doubleheader than 4 straight games before the break. You know what I mean? I thought about that instantly too. Then I was like, if there's 2 outs, or even if there's 1 out, maybe that makes sense. Then you don't have him until Sunday. But I don't think you do that with no outs. I don't think you're like Edwin Diaz when you usually get a 6-out save on July 10th. I just don't think that's what they were thinking. But I think that's again with it. I think he's second guessing himself because of some decisions that have openly kind of been wrong recently. Like he's been tasked with the same situation 4 times in the last 10 days.
Over again.
And then he keeps, and again, I hate looking back like this. I hate this bullshit. The hindsight's 2020, but the process keeps seeming different.
Yes.
And that's what we liked so much last year. And with this organization, all this thing, the process was the same. The process was consistent. Now it's seeming less consistent. I know different guys, different process, of course, but it doesn't feel, again, consistent right now.
Now, I want to switch the conversation because as much as the pitching handling's been weird and the bullpen hasn't been sharp, the biggest problem with this team, as it was from day one at the start of the season to as it is right now, is they still are not hitting consistently enough. And especially when they get guys and runners in scoring position, they can't do anything. And at what point, I'm going to scream and yell about it till it happens. Do we look to make a change? How many times are we going to keep doing the same thing over and over again? Get rid of Chavez and Barnes. You have to. You have to get rid of them at some point.
Is that really a change?
Yes, it sends a message. At the end of the day,
that's true.
It sends a message that whatever was just happening is unacceptable. I don't know how many times. It's crazy too because you look at the Mets stats for the year and you're like 7th in WRC or 5th in WRC plus for the season. It's like, yeah, we know Alonso, Soto, Nimmo, Lindor. Like they're carrying the load there. But then something happens. There is 100% an approach issue when runners are in scoring position. And that approach thing seems to be, has to be coming somewhere, right? Who's responsible for why they literally get so fucking fucked over when runners in scoring position are on?
We've looked at this before, and I'm going to load up the stats while I'm filibustering right now, but there isn't really an approach issue. It just comes down to a lot of bullshit. Part of it is what you're right about. They are squeezing the bat too tightly, but if you look at the process stats around the scoring position, when you look at hard hit rates, when you look at chase rates, those aren't bad from those players.
But is that because the players are good, or is that the players being good players? Like we know Juan Soto hits the ball hard. We know Pete Alonso hits the ball hard.
But then what's the problem? Then you tell me what the problem is.
There has to be some sort of disconnect between maybe even it's this, and we have heard Eric Chavez and Jeremy Barnes both say we don't have that data. Those are words that have come out of their mouth when we heard the Pete Alonso swing changes. He needed data that we didn't have. And I don't know whose fault that is, but it feels like theirs. Maybe like we saw Brandon Young in that first game when he had the immaculate inning and all that nonsense. And how many fucking fastballs low in the zone did the Mets just take? And I know you said to lefties he didn't throw that all year.
None.
But when's the change going to happen? Hey, guys, alert to everybody. He's throwing differently. Adjust. There's no adjustments by this team offensively. That's my issue.
Yeah, but you're contradicting yourself because you're proclaiming these guys don't give them information. There's no preparation, but they were prepped and someone adjusted on them. So it's a snap back.
But then there's no adjustment again. It just seems like they get told one thing and it doesn't work. How do we keep running into pitchers that the Orioles?
But the thing they're getting told is the thing that was true.
The Orioles pitching fucking stinks. It's terrible. It's fucking horrible. Sugano stinks, but I don't know how he keeps doing it. And I want him on the Mets just for the vibes. But at some point, Eric Chavez and Jeremy Barnes have to be held responsible. This team has good hitters, and they just can't get it done. They scored 3 runs in this game. They scored 1 run in the earlier game against fucking 45-year-old Charlie Morton. They barely hit Brandon Young. Like, when is it going to happen? When is it going to happen that everybody's hitting? They can't just all be... they feel disconnected. It feels like there's a disconnect at the plate again. That's the vibe of this episode. I don't know. I'm fucking done with Chavez and Barnes. I can't do it anymore.
Alonso, Soto, and Nimmo all have over a 42% hard hit rate runs in scoring position.
Yeah, they're awesome.
But I'm saying, what else can you do than hit the ball hard? Like,
What about
baseball.
the rest? What about the rest of the team? Isn't that where the coaches should be helping these guys? And if they can't,
Vientos has been abysmal, and Lindor's actually been quite bad.
Yeah, I know that one. But like, if Vientos, if Terrens, if Mauricio, if Beatty, which Beatty isn't because he's our runners in scoring position king, we know that. But
He's
like,
the best.
Why can't those guys get hits? If we're trusting like the player's skill, and if they're not good enough, they can't be on the team. I think that's also the conversation to have too.
But I'm saying then this swings again back to the Mendoza stuff, because when you put out the lineup for the second game of this doubleheader, after you lost the first game of the doubleheader, and you know you're doing 5 or 6 innings of Waddell and Hageman, best case scenario, by the end of the 5th inning, you give up 3 runs. Yeah. That's what you hope. That's kind of like that's okay. You do pure black holes 8, 9 in the order, and Mark Vientos in the 6th spot, who I know that Vientos actually did have a good game in the first game. I thought that was a click moment for Mark Vientos. I thought the adrenaline was pumping through his veins. He actually did put a lot of good swings on the ball. I thought he had a really great at bat in those middle innings against Morton. When I texted you, I was like, that was like the Mark Vientos I think I saw last year.
You and my dad at the exact same time said the exact same thing of like, that's the Mark Vientos of 2024.
Yeah, because he played the cat and mouse game with the pitcher, which Mark Vientos did so well last year. Guys pitched to hit, knew where it was, and smacked it. But then again, you get to the next game and none of that's there again. But you know that you're at a monstrous pitching disadvantage, and you even managed to take a 2-0 lead in the top of the first inning. Oh. But you just don't have enough to sustain it. And like this was a bad. I mean, he's been great all season. This was a bad day for Pete Alonso. Like, you got to say that it was, but like it's by no means his fault. And then to have a lineup with 2 complete missing spots when you know you have openers, guys who are not really major league caliber pitchers pitching, it's like that to me doesn't seem like a good idea.
Well, that's also definitely a big part of the issue too, and that's part of the reason why I'm like, I still want Chavez and them gone. You're never going to change my mind on that. But at the same time, these guys at the bottom of the order, if they can't fix these guys, then they probably aren't Major League Baseball players either. Like one or the other. We got to pick a lane here. There's got to be some sort of vision, some sort of focus that we're working on, because when those 2 black holes are at the bottom of the order, we're now making this game, instead of 27 outs, we're making it 21, 20 outs sometimes, because those are automatic outs. And the Mets just can't afford, with the pitching and the lack of bullpen, to make these games shorter at the plate.
Yeah. And again, it does come a lot back to the few guys that should be the ones that are the bridge guys that haven't been. And now with Jesse Winker out injured again, with Starling Marte not playing right now, he was hitting well, with Jeff McNeil hitting pretty well, it just comes back squarely on Mark Vientos' shoulders. Like, because I think objectively watching his last few weeks of baseball, like, I have a bit of a newfound confidence in the combination of Beatty and Mauricio as everyday players. So that's what I'm saying. So right now you have those 2 guys. You're like, I'm comfortable with their at-bats. Then you have 5 other guys that were saying we're comfortable with their at-bats. We just named 7 hitters. If you have 7 good hitters in the lineup that you trust, that should be enough. And we haven't even talked about the DH yet, which should be one of the easiest ones to pick out right there.
Where's JD Martinez? Give him a call.
I mean, I think he just declined the Rangers minor league offer. But I'm saying, like, that winds up being the problem on most days. And the fact that Sanger is so bad. Like, so and that bad. Like, so bad. The Mets this year from the catcher position are 24th in WRC+. Oh. They're 27% worse than league average cumulatively from when their catchers played appearances this season. That also reflects on Luis Torrens. I know Luis Torrens stung that ball in the 9th inning in the first game, but like, he hasn't gotten a big hit in months. And like, this is what all of this does wind up coming down to. It's like, some of the guys we expected more. Luis Torrens?
Yeah.
644.
582.
Shit. God damn it.
You can't. He's the perfect backup. That's all I'll say. The perfect backup.
But then, are you not okay with the roster manipulation? Because I still think the roster manipulation does play.
It does, but I just need that day to come faster. I don't know. Like, there's nothing that we can do about that one. And I kind of in the back of my head, I kind of hate it, but also it is the right move and decision. And also, Alvarez was playing terribly. He needed to fix something. Shout out JP Arancibia, who's been just fixing him left and right. Had a quote where he was like, if I had that 2023, he's like, you lit the world on fire. That was an incredible year.
Tommy Loren's husband. Shout him out. But it's just, and again, I think this all comes back to all the things we talked about at the beginning, is the disconnect between front office and coaching staff right now, where a lot of these problems get a little bit smoothed over if you don't have Brandon Waddell and Justin Hageman pitching 3 out of 7 games.
God, they've pitched a lot.
Yeah, because it was the Brewers it was Friday, and then it was Sunday, and then it was this Thursday. So
Yeah,
3 times in 6
Mets,
games.
The Mets won the Hagenman game, which is hilarious to look back at now. But like, I think another thing to talk about too with this team is what happens on the road. How
cheating, right?
Yeah, we'll have to be cheating the way that the difference between how they play. They're 2-10 in their last 12 road games. They're so horrible on the road.
Kind of. I also think that, I don't know, like we look at this Orioles team, it's like last place in the AL East. Like this team sucks. But also like since they fired their manager, they're like 4 or 5 games over 500.
But they're pitching. That's one thing that's always going to stink as long as it continues.
Sure, but again, like Charlie Morton, again, I tweeted that he could roll out of bed at 77, take his pills, go on the mound,
Mets.
6 innings of 1-run balls, 6 strikeouts against the Mets, no matter what. It's not hitting Sugano, who came into this game just limping, who's had a bad month and a half, and you put 2 on him. You put 2 on him early. Like you should be able then to open the floodgates, like make him sweat a little bit. And then the Orioles, Tony Masalino, good paisan, he had no fear throwing Sugano back out there for a 6th inning when he's still like the Mets just were swinging the first pitch. They were hitting ground balls. Like it was no fear with his lineup. They didn't really put up any resistance, and that's the part that makes me upset. And actually, they kind of just it gives me agita.
It does give me agita. I don't know. It's very frustrating. I don't think this team's bad, but there's got to be where's the fix at this point?
I mean, you got the trade deadline acquisitions coming back this weekend. You got Koda Senga, Shomanai. There's also
Is that just the difference? I
think it's a big difference. You could if those 2 guys replace Hageman and Waddell on the roster. That feels very different to me. But also, like we're starting to feel the snippiness kind of bleed into the broadcast now. This week for the first time, where Gary made some comments where he was clearly second guessing some of the Mendoza decisions. He brought up the non-intentional walk to Judge on Sunday during this game when Waddell was on the mound. And then he made another comment later. I can't remember.
It was about when Brett Beatty clanked the ground ball to third base. And he was like, Mauricio's been playing a great third. And I was like, well, to be fair, Brett Beatty has too, but maybe that's more of a comment of Mauricio third, Brett Beatty second, no Luis Angel Acuna in the lineup.
Yeah, again, that was one of the first things we talked about this episode. The fact that if Luis Angel Acuna is on the roster, he doesn't have to start the first day he gets called up, especially when the other guys are playing well. He
doesn't really even have to play that much. He could just be the pinch runner guy who maybe comes in for defense late in the game if you need it. Yeah. Let him be an agent of chaos.
It's also, I know these guys kind of seem like robots, and Beatty's been so good at defensively this year at every single place we've wanted to put him. That's a huge change going from second base to third base. Yeah. There's like no similarities of fielding those 2 positions. Like what you have to do when a ball's coming to you at third base compared to second is so completely different. Like the steps you take at third base to get to that ball. And the reason he booted that ball was because he got caught in between hop. That was like the big thing that was wrong with him the first time he came up, and then he fixed those problems. He's been great there. When you start playing second base, like you take a nap when you wait for that ball to get to you. That's an easy play. It's an easy throw. Like you can do whatever you want. So it did seem like he got caught in between. And again, not saying he's infallible, not saying like that's an error he should have made by any means because he's moving around positions. But that is like here, play third base, play second base, like in the same day. That's hard. Just because you have to shoehorn in Luis Angel Acuna into the lineup, to me, it doesn't make any sense.
I think also, like, shout out Brett Beatty. He hasn't been the problem, by the way, why this team's losing. He's been playing great baseball over the last 2 weeks. Has like an OPS near 800 over the last 15 games that he's played. He's been really good. This is a guy keeping on the MLB roster.
He has an OPS over 800 for his last like 60 games played.
Really? Is it that much?
Yeah, it's 2 months of baseball. It's 800 OPS.
I mean, yeah, he had the abysmal first stretch of the year where he was unplayable.
And then with a positive OAA, 2 different positions on the infield. Like there's no dispersions being cast on Brett Beatty. We're just talking about something that happened in this game being a symptom of a larger problem that was an error that Beatty did make.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just there's just weird vibes again. I don't know if it's because they hit the road or whatnot. I feel like Keith resents Juan Soto. Do you feel that?
I mean, when he didn't hustle in the first game, there were some real moans and groans.
You know what's crazy though? Watching that game, Pete Alonso hit a ground ball to second base, did not hustle, no comment. There's a bunch of other players who do this stuff and don't hustle.
But it's different when you make the most money on the team, in the league, and the world.
Yeah, you're right. I actually don't want you hustling on ground balls as even more because we're paying you all this money and you're so important to this team. This is always my hot take, and I know it gets people so fucking mad, but I do not want Juan Soto fucking hustling on a ground ball to second base ever because we've seen the risk reward for the hustle is fucking monumentally in the risk side.
Can I give you something else? Is there a difference between not hustling and just lightly jogging?
No.
Because there definitely is. Because you don't have to bust out of the box. You don't have to be. You don't have to be Johnny Hustle every single time. But when Soto luckily got to first base after Holiday blew that ball in the first game, he was like walking. He was looking around.
I super don't care.
All you have to, I think a light jog changes things, but also I think you should also have to. I think Pete. I think not Pete. Keith. I think the conversations that Soto had to the media permeated a little bit. I think those made their rounds. Like we were going to media marvel this. We did have a lot of media marvels prepared for this episode. Might save them for the weekend. Might save them for another episode this week, just because I don't want to talk. I don't want to make fun of people when the Mets just played a dog shit day of baseball. But those are the kinds of comments that definitely rub old baseball people the wrong way.
Yeah.
Juan Soto breaks every single unwritten rule of baseball the old guard holds sacred. Keith broke some of the written rules of baseball that he has had to pay. He's had to pay for that over the course of his career, but it is different. And again, if he's hitting right now, so it's no big deal. Like again, also similarly, no dispersions on Juan Soto, but in 2 games like this where no one gets a big hit, that's when you get the moans and groans from Keith about someone needing to step up and not looking at Pete, who left like 9 guys on base between these 2 games.
There was a funny moment where I think Sugano threw like a low curveball, and Keith made a comment. I thought I rung him up there. It wasn't even close. I was like, are you rooting for him to strike out? I'm like, what is going on? And then when he stole second base, he was like disgusted that Soto stole that base and that the Orioles didn't try better to hold him on and just let him steal. He's like, ugh, you're falling asleep there again. You can't let that happen. And it's like, how about heads up play by Juan Soto, who gets made fun of all the time for not hustling? But that's where he makes up for it, and he's one of the best fucking hitters on the planet. Again, I don't give a shit if he runs out any ground balls ever in his life as a Mets fan. Get to the playoffs, run it out. That's the only time. Big games that matter, run it out.
Soto's one of the most efficient base stealers in baseball this season.
I know.
I don't want it to be lost in this like bad few weeks that the Mets are the most efficient team at stealing bases in all of baseball.
Shout out Antoine Richardson.
Yeah, Antoine Richardson's been a beast. And the Mets are the second slowest team in the whole league based on average sprint speed on Fangraphs. And we have the best stolen base percentage. And we're top 10 in total stolen bases. So it's not like we're stealing 3 bags a month. The Mets also haven't had a straight caught stealing in a month of games. Yeah. June 12th. Juan Soto got picked off in Atlanta. The only time he's been caught this year. But the last time someone got thrown out in a straight steal at second base was June 12th.
It's crazy.
It's also, bring back that Keith thing. One more comment. The irony is that there were multiple comments Keith made in this game about himself working and like himself getting his bag. And of course, you never look in another man's pocket. Everyone's out there's got to get their bag. I got blocked by someone in the Mets community this week for calling him a communist after he said Soto was ridiculous for wanting his $100,000 bonus. But Keith first made a comment that the game that was supposed to happen on Wednesday night got moved to Thursday. That was an ESPN game, got rained out. So SNY got 2 broadcasts. And they were supposed to got 3 broadcasts this series. And they were only supposed to get 2. Keith immediately goes, oh, I only have my 110 for the year. Now I got to get one lopped off later. And then they got news in between the doubleheaders that one did get lopped off, that a Sunday game in San Francisco got flexed to Sunday Night Baseball. And Keith was like, great, get another day to spend with my brother. So that's like the same conceptually as the Juan Soto $100,000 thing, where Keith is like, well, I can't do that one game. Gary clearly ripping him, like knowing what Keith thinks. He was like, oh, why don't you do one out gratis? Just for how well they treated you over Keith started hysterically laughing.
He knows.
He was cackling, but that was a funny moment to me, where it was like some irony of like the way that those Soto comments were received, and then Keith Hernandez openly being like, I'm not working one extra game, and they're both right.
Yeah. Oh, they're both right. Yeah, it's $100,000. I don't care how much money you have. $100,000. You can have a lot of fun with that.
So you can do a lot with that. You could buy a cousin a house.
Yeah,
you could do so much. You go to the $100,000, or you could literally whatever you want.
Yeah, you put it away, invest, whatever you want to do.
And at the same time, shout out David Peterson making the All-Star game very funny to watch that game slip away, and then in between the doubleheader, realize you're a first-time All-Star with that. But that's a cool moment to have another Met there. Get good recognition for Peterson after an incredible first half.
Shout out Peterson. He's just a really good pitcher. Anything else to talk about with this series, or do we want to move on to the series preview?
I think that is all. I mean, we kind of ripped it apart.
Yeah, that we did.
I feel pretty good.
I think we got to go ahead and do a series preview. But before we get going into the series preview, the DraftKings player spotlight is back. And for this episode, we're talking about Kodai Senga. He's coming back. James, you excited?
I'm so excited to get Kodai Senga back. It was nice that there was real panic when he got out the first time, but it was a hamstring injury, so the arm was good the whole time. He was throwing. Just one rehab start last week at Binghamton. Didn't pitch great, but we don't really care about the results in a rehab start. We just care about you could throw your pitches. Kodai Senga still got 11 swings and misses. He got up to 68 pitches against the Yard Goats. Shout out the Yard Goats in that rehab start for Kodai Senga. But I'm ready to watch Kodai Senga come back, give this team a good 5-inning, get up to 85 pitches, 5 or 6 strikeouts. I think that will be the line to watch out for in the DraftKings player spotlight here. I'm sure
you going over under.
I'm sure if it comes in 4.5, I'm going over. 5.5, I'd go under. I think we're going to see a 5-strikeout, 5-inning performance from Kodai Senga. So that's where I'm at. And I'm just excited that he can be back. It seems like this team gets a real boost whenever Kodai Senga is on the mound.
Yeah, there's lulls after his injury where the team almost feels like they've lost like their spiritual leader or something. I don't know what he does in the clubhouse. Doesn't really speak any English, so I don't really know what's going on there either. But he's a damn good pitcher, so I'm very excited to have him back. And I know you just took the Kodai Senga over under. You told us depending on what the line is. I'm going to go a little bit different for you guys here with my DraftKings pick. Stolen bases. Let's get crazy. Both of these teams are amazing at stopping the run game. Incredible. Bobby Witt Jr. has like 25 stolen bases. Michael Garcia has 18. I'm going to take the over on a Mets player, though. I think we're going to see Francisco Lindor run a little bit this series. I think we're going to see him get moving. He's going to get on base, try to make something happen because they need to score some runs badly. So I'm taking the over on a stolen base for Francisco Lindor.
Have to. I'd like to take some unders on the Royals, too, because Michael Garcia, one of the least efficient base stealers in the league. He's gotten caught like 9 or 10 times.
Is he really?
Yeah, it's crazy.
He's just like, fuck it. Let's keep trying. Let's keep ripping it.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, make sure you guys download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code FOUL. That's code FOUL for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
All right, James, let's continue on with this series preview. Give us the pitching matchups. We know Kodai is going. What else do we got?
Kodai is going Friday, and then Sunday we're going to have a situation where Chaminade is due back, but he's apparently, allegedly at this point, going to piggyback with Clay Holmes. That's as of right now, but Friday, 8:10, Kodai Senga versus Michael Wacha. Saturday, 4:10, Frankie Montas versus Michael Lorenzen. And Sunday, 2:10, the combination of Chaminade and Clay Holmes versus Noah Cameron.
These are like weirdly, well, maybe not the last game, but Senga and Wacha are both guys who like rely on like a splitter / changeup to get a lot of their outs. Mm-hmm. In game 2, Michael Lorenzen and Frankie Montas are all fastballs all the time, which is kind of funny.
A lot of nonsense.
And then game 3 is just complete chaos, but we'll worry about that later. This Royals team is a team, right?
They're playing well right now.
Okay, great.
Better than they have. I think they just completed a sweep of the Pirates. Another series of the Pirates basically scored no runs after sweeping us. The Royals are climbed back to win 2 games of 500 for the first time in about a month as well. They're a team that's desperately trying to plead with their management to not sell. They don't want to sell. So I think that they're a team that has a lot on the line with these couple of games. I think it's important to know that because they've really come in low in their expectations of themselves. Yeah. Not really of like the league and of like projections, but like of themselves. They've come in much lower than expectation this year.
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of like 3 major league hitters right now in this lineup that are playing better than league average, and it's Bobby Witt Jr., Michael Garcia, and Vinny Pasquantino. Pasquantino has been a lot better of late. Bobby Witt Jr., one of the best players in baseball. You guys know all about him. Runs like fucking lightning. Great defense. Can hit for some pop
like
too.
Lightning.
Like lightning. He runs like lightning. Michael Garcia, really, really good baseball player. Cousin of Luis Angel Acuna. Fun fact. Family ties. And special shout out to Jack Caglione. He has been struggling mightily, but I advise you to not worry. This guy hits the baseball so friggin' hard. He's also learning how to play the outfield while at the major league level. I don't think he played almost any outfield in the minor leagues. The Royals called him up because that's how badly they need hitting.
He played in the minor leagues, but never at college.
Yeah, so barely. He still barely played the outfield at all.
Yes.
He's pretty horrible out in the outfield. Looks pretty insane out there at times, but when he makes contact, and right now it's been rare, he struck out a ton. When he makes contact, he hits the ball exceptionally hard.
Yeah, on the last game on Wednesday, Jack Caglione hit a 466-foot home run. And it looked like it honestly may have gone further than that. It was like the kind of home run where the outfielders turn around and don't even move their feet. He hit it that hard. Yeah. In that game, Salvador Perez also with 2 home runs. He hit a home run in the second inning.
He's been hot.
A 1-0 lead, and then he hit a home run in the 8th inning to win them the game. In that one game, his OPS went from about 680 to 712 from a 2 home run game, and 4 hard hit balls, 3 of them hit over 107 miles an hour. This Royals team is a team that went to the postseason last year. They're a team that made noise last year, and it's most of the same players. Like, and they got kind of an ace dropped in miraculously on top of it in Chris Bubic, who we're not going to see this series, but they're not. You're going to look at the record similar to what happened with the Orioles this week and be like, oh, the Mets have to kill this team. But this is a team that can play pretty solid baseball.
They can pitch well. If the pitching has trouble against this lineup, we desperately got to look at some different options, because I know Met killer Jonathan India is there, and he's going to have also Met fan. He's going to have a huge series. I know that. That's an absolute guarantee. But like some guys that are getting play every single day, Nick Lofton, John Rave. I don't know who John Rave is. I have no idea who that guy is. 27. Kyle Isbell, great fielder, but he's playing almost every single day. And then they're carrying 3 catchers, which is an interesting move. Cam Devaney, another person who I don't know who that is, and Tyler Tolbert, another player I have never heard of. So like offensively, or I should say pitching-wise, we should be attacking. Do not let Bobby Witt Jr. beat you. That is pretty much the goal of the series. Don't let Bobby Witt Jr. beat you. Keep him off the base paths. Keep him from doing damage. The Mets pitching should be fine. Now it's just a matter of if the bats show up.
Yeah, and I feel like that John Rave jersey is probably doing numbers at those Midwest college day parties. Royals Rave on the back. I'm sure Arkansas, Missouri, they're probably rocking Rave jerseys left and right. Maybe Washington, St. Louis. But this pitching is interesting. I want to talk about one guy who we're going to see in this series, Noah Cameron. You watch Noah Cameron pitch, it probably just like gives you butterflies at the good old days in baseball. It's a bit of a chunky lefty who's wearing rec specs, and he just goes out there. He's like, I'm going to give you some changeups, some sinkers, some sliders, some curveballs. Just totally mess around. He's got a 2.5 ERA and an 0.96 whip for 63 major league innings with only 50 strikeouts. Now the old timers love that. Really good at keeping the ball off the barrel. Someone who has been susceptible to hard contact, though, if you could just square him up. But he's a frustrating pitcher to face.
Yeah, and they have some kind of demons as well in the bullpen. Carlos Estevez, we know. Francisco Lindor's owned him, but he's their closer. He's been pitching really well this year. Lucas Urseg has great stuff.
Incredible.
Your boy Schreiber, right? You still high on Schreiber?
I mean, Schreiber's good. The only reason I thought was cool about Schreiber because they traded like a great pitching prospect, Nick Sandlin. David Sandlin, Nick Sandlin. One of the Sandlins. To get him, and we all dunked on them. And they're like, what are the Royals doing? Why are they getting a middle reliever? They suck. And then they go on to the playoffs. Maybe like more teams try to do shit like that. But this isn't like a bad team. Like this is a team that will, if they don't sell, which they definitely might, they could keep themselves in the AL wildcard race, like right to the bitter end. And the other thing that we talked about, the DraftKings player spotlight, they're so good at not letting you steal bases. This is going to be a real rubber meets the road matchup because the Mets, like I said, the most efficient base stealing team in the league by a good bit over the Tigers. I think we're something like 88%, 89% success rate, inching up to 90. Against the Royals this year, there have been 20 successful stolen bases and 16 players caught stealing.
That's crazy.
There have been 36 attempted stolen bases against them. Almost every single team in baseball has stolen more than 36 bases so far as a team. And the Royals have only 36 have been attempted, 20 successful. I'm going to get that stat right now for you. Every single team except the Detroit Tigers, the only team that is near the Mets in efficiency, have stolen at least 36 bases this year.
Good stat. Freddie Fermin and Salvi have just been gunning guys out. I didn't know that.
Salvi's he's a legend. It's a consummate professional.
God, I know he's the World Series MVP in the year that we lost to them, but man, I fucking respect the hell out of Salvi. Can't hate him.
And Freddie Fermin is a bit of a demon himself. He's not exactly the most like obvious, like great player. Like you heard about Freddie Fermin, you watch Freddie Fermin, but he's a great defensive player and he's a really good athlete from the catcher position.
How old's Freddie Fermin?
27.
30.
Wow, all right.
Shocks me. He's 5 years younger than Salvador Perez. It feels like they're from different eras.
They are from different eras. One just took a long time. One got called up at 21.
Well, he could have been like a senior in high school, and Salvi would have been like his upperclassman. Yeah.
But again, like this, at the end of the day, like this is you save this road trip, you've beat 2 or 3 from this team. And I said it going into the last series, 3-3 road trip, you're okay with that. So got to win 2 out of 3. That 8:00 game Friday is kind of fun, honestly, and then the 4 and the 2. But just let's play some good baseball. Michael Wacha is going to be really annoying to face. I'm just telling you guys right now. He's had a good season, especially relative to expectations on Michael Wacha. I think there was a bad start recently, but I'm pretty sure the full season stats are still just 380 ERA, so it's fine. Okay. It's good, but he's Michael Wacha. You face Michael Wacha a lot over the years. He's a very difficult pitcher to face.
We got Frankie Peppers to close us out here, James.
I think we started too fast. You don't have him.
That's fair. That's understandable. Frankie, hope to hear from you soon. The boys need you. Otherwise, that's pretty much it for this episode, right? We got nothing else to mention here, James?
I think that's it. Again, we'll have something else for you guys this weekend. Trying to line up an interview, or might just do something trade deadline stuff. Just might figure out something, but we'll have something else for you guys Saturday.
Yes. And thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. Make sure you follow us at Mets'd on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Subscribe to the Mets'd Podcast YouTube channel for the video version. And if you are listening to us, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. You can follow James on social media at
James Shiano.
I'm Giraffe Neck Mark with a C. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. Let's fucking go Mets. Please just get better baseball. Please.
Please. Let's go Mets. See ya.